It is the weekend of Super Bowl 54. Thank goodness, thank goodness, thank goodness. It is Friday, and we are live from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. You are rocking and rolling on the hottest show in the streets. Best form of Crimson Tide football news, notes, and information. That being in my own words, the podcast with yours truly, your man, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. We have a great segment tonight, great topics prepared for you on tonight's show. But as always, we encourage you to drop that thumbs up on the show, drop that like on the show, and subscribe, because that tells us here at TDA got to continue pumping you out the best news, notes, information, and content on your Crimson Tide football program. It is because of you, the passionate, the energetic Crimson Tide fan, that the network here on YouTube, over 8,000, that's right, 8,000 subscribers strong. We'll start off by talking Tua Tagovailoa and him identifying his primary goal for the NFL Combine. From there, we sit down with my man, Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama Magazine, as he breaks down the 2020 recruiting class National Signing Day coming up on February the 5th. From there, we dive into some trivia, Super Bowl trivia. One lucky Alabama fan will get a chance to win a free subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine. And also along with that, we'll dive into your Super Bowl predictions with the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Last but not least, we have a free-for-all call-in segment. You want to talk, you have thoughts, questions, concerns about your Crimson Tide program. Even if you just want to bring a vent to me, you will have that chance to do that in the final segment. The number, 205-448-1358. Once again, that's 205-448-1358. The number to call in to be a part of the hottest show on the streets, 205-448-1358. But diving into Tua Tagovailoa, the former Crimson Tide quarterback, the legendary quarterback of whom rescued the program to a college football playoff national championship as a freshman in 2017, led the program to a Southeastern Conference title in 2018, a guy that finished runner-up to the Heisman Trophy and was a consensus All-American. That individual, Tua Tagovailoa, was has been in Miami, Florida this week for the Super Bowl. He's been making his rounds to the different ESPN and Fox media outlets. And while so many other guys will be preparing to wow scouts with the 40 time, the 3-cone drill, the shuttle runs, the bench press, all those things that take place in the NFL Scouting Combine, which is the week of February 23rd to March the 2nd, Tua has his mind on one thing, and he spoke about it. He wants to win all of the medical assignments. He wants to check all of the medical boxes to show teams, to show scouts, coaches, and what have you, that he can play. He's 100%. He's healthy. He can bend, maneuver, finesse on the right hip, and be able to throw the football accurately, with timing, with precision, to receivers down the field. So he will meet with the medical team during the week of the Combine. He will also take part in some interviews. Tua, a very polished speaker, somebody of whom I have no doubt in my mind he will ace the interviews. He will excel in those. He will do well in those. Just going back to something that national NFL insider in Rappaport and also Tua's agent Lee Steinberg said, Tua is expected to have a pro day somewhere by mid-April. Now that the exact date has not been unveiled or revealed, but sometime by mid-April, Tua is expected to have his own pro day. If he goes out there, performs well, shows the scouts that he can move on his right hip, then there's no doubt in my mind he will be in the top 5 in terms of the venue coming up in April from Paradise, Nevada. Now, for me, Tua, when you look at what he did in his career, 7,442 passing yards, 87 total touchdown passes and 96 total scores in his 3 seasons. I remember sort of, watching him as he made his speech to declare, or to make the move, I should say, the decision to declare for the NFL draft. He really battled and fought with that thing just due to the love, the appreciation he has for Coach Saban. And I remember his father, Tua Tagovailoa, who spoke with CBS 42 and WBRC Fox 6. And, Tua talked about how the biggest thing that weighed on his decision to whether go pro, pursue the NFL, or come back for his senior season at Alabama was that relationship with Coach Saban. He had such a fear of, I don't want to let Coach down. I hate him hurt because I feel like I'm not able to give my all to my teammates. I'm not able to give my all to Coach Saban. And in the back of Tua's mind, he's thinking, well, if I come back and have a chance to fully rehab, fully get healthy, play my senior year, I can take this team from coast to coast to a national championship and win it as a starting quarterback. I can, win the Heisman Trophy. I can do all of those things that I was set out to do as a 5-star prospect when I came in from Hawaii in the 2017 class. And it kind of took Nick Saban to tell him, son, don't make an emotional decision. Make a business decision. What you do, whether it's you coming back for your senior year, or whether it's you deciding to go pro, go to the NFL, make that move based on a business decision. Whatever decision you decide to make, it's not going to cause me to treat you any less. It's not going to diminish our relationship. You are still Tua in my eyes. You are still Tua in the eyes of your teammates. You are still Tua in the eyes of the fans. So while he was on that stage inside the Malmore facility, and it just felt like, he was in utter anguish and utter agony because he really loves, joys, respects the University of Alabama. Tide fans will always remember Tua for 2nd and 26, right? Coming off the bench, showing that poise against Georgia, and firing 3 touchdowns, including the 41-yard rainbow in overtime to Devontae Smith, 2nd and 26, getting the 26-23 win. Fans will forever remember Tua for the toughness he played with. Despite him being hurt, sustaining some injuries, he never allowed that to make him sit down. That Warriors mentality in him kept pushing him forward, kept pushing him to be on the field, kept him with having a desire to be the best. So Tide fans definitely looking forward to seeing what he will be able to do at the next level. But for me, got a question right here, and of course, I will answer this first. And for those of you out there that have a thought on this, you can definitely call 205-448-1358 after the next segment to give your thoughts here on the question. But question being, what would be the most desperate spot for Tua in the draft? What would be the most decent spot for Tua in the draft? And what would be the perfect spot, the ideal landing spot for Tua Tagovailoa? So for me, the most desperate spot would be, of course, the Miami Dolphins, just seeing how they need a quarterback tremendously. That's a team and a front office that has not had the big playability, the heavy passing attack, the talented arm at that spot since Dan Marino. So the Dolphins would be the most desperate spot, and on top of that, they would more so look for him to start right away, just seeing how a lot of the fans down there do not have much trust in Josh Rosen. And then you have Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's good, who can stabilize the ship, but not the talent that Tua is. So Miami would be the most desperate spot. The most decent spot for Tua, I would go with the Los Angeles Chargers, and that because it would put him back on the West Coast. The LA Chargers already have talent at wide receiver with Keenan Allen, with Mike Williams, and at tight end you have Hunter Henry. So there's some pieces already there for the Chargers. And with Phillip Rivers now moving his family from Los Angeles to Florida, he will be hitting that free agent market, and the Chargers will be in need for a quarterback. So LA would be the most decent move. As far as the perfect move, not a lot of people will agree with me on this, but the perfect move for Tua, come on down, the Indianapolis Colts. I would take that man to Indy. And the reason why, the Colts already have an established offensive line headlined by former Alabama center Ryan Kelly. You already have young talents at wide receiver with T.Y. Hilton. You have a young tight end who's very good in Eric Ebron. And the front office of Indy, one of the best in the business. Chris Ballard, one of the smartest GMs out there, will do everything possible to make sure that talent stays around Tua, that experience stays around Tua, and Tagovailoa will be able to grow with that talent. Also, he would play at Lucas Oil Stadium. I mean, you can't get any better than that. It's a dome environment. It's a conditioned environment. And for you, the fans, hey, Indy would only be, a 6 to 8 hour trip from the state of Alabama. So that would be on my end. The most desperate place, the Miami Dolphins. The most decent place, the LA Chargers. And the perfect place, the ideal setup, give me the Indianapolis Colts over there at Lucas Oil Stadium for Tua. But we're going to take a quick break here right now. Upon our return, we'll get a chance to talk to my man, Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine for the 2020 class. Don't touch that dial, folks. We're coming back.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today.
After discussing Tua Tagovailoa, as we're back in live from the break to the hottest show on the streets, in my own words, the podcast, yours truly, Stephen M. Smith. We go to the phone lines right now where we pick up my good man, Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine, the host of The Process. Justin, you're on, in my own words. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Stephen? How's it going?
Going just fine, Justin. It's crazy how you are in Georgia right now on that recruiting trail, continuing to chart these student athletes, as February the 5th is National Signing Day, the first Wednesday in the month of February. Crimson Tide already having 13 of its early enrollees on campus right now. But among the names Alabama trying to finalize and lock in, when you look at McKinley Jackson, Cedric Van Pran, and then also Javon Baker, also Jason Elijah Jones. Where is Alabama right now? Who are the last few names that you're seeing that Nick Saban and this coaching staff trying to reel in here to complete what looks to be a very special 2020 class?
Well, I think it all begins with McKinley Jackson, the four-star defensive tackle out of Mississippi. This is a guy who has been high on Alabama's board for the entire 2020 recruiting cycle. Basically, when you look at Alabama's 2020 recruiting class, this guy is a special product inside, a special defensive tackle. I saw him in action at the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game, and this guy's a real grown man inside the trenches. I was very impressed with him at that particular game. He actually won the MVP award at that particular event, which is something you do not really see when it comes to the defensive tackle position. So I was very impressed with that. Alabama has put it all on the table for McKinley Jackson. Nick Saban visited him at home. Pete Golding has visited him several times. So Alabama's coaching staff has put everything in McKinley Jackson as far as them recruiting him very hard. Nick Saban visited him this week. Pete Golding has stayed on him. They got him on campus before the traditional signing period in February, which was huge. They already hosted him for an official visit. So getting him back on campus was huge for Alabama. Also, the hiring of Freddie Roach, a guy who McKinley Jackson had a relationship with at Ole Miss. And Ole Miss was around McKinley Jackson's recruitment for some time now doing his recruitment. So getting Freddie Roach added to Alabama's coaching staff was huge for McKinley Jackson as well. I think Alabama's in a good position with them, but so is LSU and Texas A&M, who still want to be around the mix. Guys who are still pushing for him. I know Ed Ogeron visited him recently, so LSU and Texas A&M are definitely still in the mix for McKinley Jackson. As far as Cedric Van Pran goes, as I got a chance to catch up with him at the Under Armour All-American game, this is a guy who is verbally committed to Georgia. I think his commitment kind of wavered when Georgia lost the offensive line with Coach Sam Pittman to Arkansas, and Alabama kind of picked up their pursuit of him. He is the number one center in the 2020 recruiting class. But when I talked to him at the Under Armour All-American game, he did rave about his relationship with Alabama's defensive coordinator, Pete Golding, basically talking about their relationship as being both guys from the state of Louisiana, basically just pouring into that Louisiana thing. So he has a good relationship with Pete Golding. Alabama has visited him recently at home at his school as well. So that is something just to keep a note on. I think he will most likely sign with Georgia, but Alabama is still in the mix. And Alabama has continued to make that push. But other guys, when it comes to the 2020 recruiting class, Alabama is still pushing for. You got guys like Alfred Collins, a defensive end out of Texas, who Alabama is still pushing for. When he took an official visit to Alabama during the month of September, he did reach out to me and say that that visit was good. He really talked about Coach Saban, raved about Saban, basically not sugarcoating anything, basically giving it to him straight and not really jumping over any hoops, basically breaking down everything that Alabama has to offer to him. So Alfred Collins is another guy, the 4-star cornerback out of Texas, by the way, of Duncanville High School. Eric Ennis Rexall Jr. is another guy to keep an eye on. I got a chance to host Ennis Rexall Jr. on the process a couple of episodes back. This is the guy who told me Alabama was his dream school when Alabama offered him. And Alabama has shown a lot of interest late in his recruitment. Nick Saban has visited him at home. Coach Jeff Banks and Carl Scott, I think they visited him last night at home. So Alabama is still in the mix for Ennis Rexall Jr. A lot of teams are still trying to push him at the end, including Missouri and Texas. So it's a lot of interesting storylines for Alabama heading into the month of February. And I know you brought up Jason Elijah Jones. This is the guy whose recruitment has kind of been on the edge, as he told me at the Under Armour All-American game practices as well, that his commitment to Alabama was not strong and it was not weak. So I think his commitment to Alabama is kind of on the weak side right now, with him officially visiting Baylor and officially visiting Oregon before the traditional signing period and not visiting Alabama. So, and Georgia Tech still been in the mix. So I think it's kind of on the weak side at the moment. But whoever gets Jason Elijah Jones is getting a great kid, a kid who's a great interviewer. As I got a chance to interview him several times, he's a intelligent kid. And as I said in the past, if he ever picks up his aggressiveness inside the trenches, I think he's going to be a special kid at 300 pounds on the defensive line for any school that picks him up.
We're live here on the phone lines with Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine, talking about this 2020 class. This National Signing Day will be February the 5th. Justin, as we look at, of course, the defensive line group for the Crimson Tide, when you have McKinley Jackson potentially coming in here, you have Timothy Smith, also Jamarian Langton, the young man out of Reform, Alabama, from Pickens High School. Is there potential for another defensive lineman in this class, or do you feel like the three of Langton, Timothy Smith, and McKinley Jackson will be the three that Nick Saban and this group will stick with?
Yeah, I think it all depends on if they go with McKinley Jackson or Jason Elijah Jones. I think that combination will be the end of it, or Alfred Collins. Alfred Collins is a guy I brought up as well. So it's going to be a combination of those guys. Alfred Collins is definitely a guy to look out for. I think Alabama is still in the mix, although Texas, his home state school, is definitely in the mix as well. They have been around his recruitment throughout its entire recruitment process. But I think it could be a 50-50 battle with Alfred Collins and Alabama. Alabama is really pushing for him, although you do not hear Alfred Collins' name a lot, but it is a name to look out for. So I think it's a combination of Jason Elijah Jones, if he sticks, or McKinley Jackson, or possibly Alfred Collins. The combination of those guys with the guys they already have signed, and also Jamil Burroughs, a guy who's verbally committed to Alabama. If he does officially sign with Alabama during the traditional signing period, Burroughs has shut down his recruitment 100%. So it looks like he's not really giving anyone else a chance to recruit him at all.
Just a couple more here with you, Justin, as we're live from the phone lines with Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine. He is on site at Georgia this week, just checking out some of the prospects over there. But, Justin, looking at right now this group at wide receiver, And I know Javon Baker, you're still waiting on him to, of course, sign his letter of intent to where he's going to go to. Trayshawn Holden's a kid that I've looked at, 6'3", close to 200 pounds, that kind of patterns his game at the Julio Jones. You and I, myself, were at the All-America Bowl, or All-America practices for the Under Armour game in Orlando, Florida. We saw Value Jones-Bell in person. When you look at Jones-Bell, and as much as Alabama's got talent at wide receiver, headlined by, of course, Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith, but what could Jones-Bell bring that would make him be somebody that Alabama would not be able to keep off the field in your mind?
Well, I think there's a couple things that Value Jones-Bell brings to the table. When you look at him, he's a bit on the shorter side. I think Alabama listed him at 6 foot on their roster, and they added their freshman early enrollees to their official roster online. But I don't think he's 6 foot. I think they basically gave him a couple of inches there. But this is the kid. I was very impressed with his route running at the Under Armour All-America game practices. This is something you can't really see on film when you look at a guy at the wide receiver position, because as everyone knows, the camera follows the quarterback, so you don't know how a particular wide receiver runs his route. And I was very impressed with the way he ran his routes. Even when he was not expecting the football, he still ran his routes very hard. So that is something that he brings to the table, but some people may not see when you just look at his film. But one of the things that do stand out on film when you look at Value Jones-Bell, this guy was very explosive with the ball in his hands. I think he's very, very elusive in the open field. Kind of reminds me of Calvin Ridley with his ability to make people miss, but he has a bit of a more thicker frame than Calvin Ridley possessed, especially coming out of high school. So this give him more weapons in the open field, so he can basically juke you or break you down in any type of way in the open field. But he also is a hard tackle based off his weight and his thick frame. So that's what Value Jones-Bell brings to the table. I think he possibly could get a chance to play for Alabama in this upcoming season, but I think a lot of wide receivers, guys who are currently on the roster, and basically guys that are coming into the University of Alabama as freshmen, a lot of guys are going to be vying for the spot. But I think he does have a chance. I think he does bring something special to the table.
While Jones-Bell is good now, Justin, keep in mind, I said John Mechie. John Mechie was Calvin Ridley 2.0. So hopefully Jones-Bell is good. I'm excited to watch that young man play, but definitely called out John Mechie being the Calvin Ridley 2.0 over here. But last one on our end, Justin, to you, and we're live here on the phone lines with Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine. Be sure to check out his show of The Process on Mondays and Wednesdays on YouTube as Justin breaks down recruiting like none other. When you look at it right now, Justin, in terms of Alabama trying to finish out with the number one class, it's kind of been a seesaw here. 1 minute Clemson's number one, the next minute Alabama's number one, the next minute Georgia's number one. So what would it take for the Tide to bring in concretely the number one class on February 5th? And even if it's not the number one class, with the people, with the players it has signed, what should Alabama fans look forward to the most? What should Bama fans be excited for the most when you look at this class? So what would it take for Bama to sign for number one class? And if it doesn't sign for number one class, what should fans be the most excited about when you talk about this group of individuals for 2020?
So I think for Alabama to possibly land a class that's in a spot to possibly take the number one spot, it could be looked at as a possibly number one ranked class, basically just looking at the talent without looking at the stars and the rankings and things like that. I think they're going to want to land McKinley Jackson. I think he's a must-get for Alabama in a way with them recruiting him so long, and they always been in the mix, always put everything on the table, visiting him at home, got a chance to host him. Also, I think Ennis Rickshaw Jr. will be another good pickup for Alabama, especially with Alabama wanting to add another defensive back to the 2020 recruiting class. Those are two guys who I feel Alabama will be in the best position to land a number one recruiting class, even though it may not be a number one class according to certain recruiting sites. But adding those two guys and with the guys Alabama has already signed and the guys they have verbally committed that could sign to the University of Alabama in February, that would be huge for Alabama, and Alabama will have a chance to have a number one recruiting class on the way. But when you look at Alabama's 2020 recruiting class as a whole, I think the thing that's most exciting about this class is the linebacker position. When it comes to outside linebackers and inside linebackers, you get a guy like DeMaury Kennedy, a guy who can basically pursuit of the football is not like none other. When you watch his tape, it almost seems like he's playing in fast forward and everybody else is playing in regular motion. Jackson Bratton, a very aggressive kid at 6'3", I think his athleticism will surprise a lot of people. So I'm really excited about Jackson Bratton. But at the outside linebacker position, Nick Saban said this at his press conference after National Signing Day during the early signing period, basically saying at the outside linebacker position, they want guys who long guys, lengthy, athletic guys who can rush their quarterback with a lot of speed. You got that with guys like Quandarius Robinson, Drew Sanders, William Anderson, a guy who was very impressive at the All-American Bowl in Texas, another guy who Alabama got at the outside linebacker position, Chris Broswell among those guys. So I think that is the thing that is most impressive by Alabama's 2020 recruiting class. Alabama's struggling at the linebacker position. And I think something else to keep a note on with Alabama basically starting spring training more into the month of March and April with the A-Day coming up is the outside linebacker position. That battle, could a true freshman possibly step up in that position with guys like Drew Sanders, Quandarius Robinson, William Anderson? Could one of those true freshmen step up at the outside linebacker position? So I think Alabama fans should be excited about the linebackers that Alabama is bringing in when it comes to outside linebackers and inside linebackers.
He's Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA, coming on here on a Friday, giving us some updates on Alabama's 2020 class. As signing day will be Wednesday, February the 5th. Justin, as always, man, we appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Stephen.
I was Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA. We're going to go to another break here for my man Ricky Green, and it looks like his brother Randall on the line right now. We will get to your calls on the other side of the break, and along with that, we will dive into some Alabama Super Bowl trivia, because this is Super Bowl weekend. We'll be back after this.
If you want delicious home-style cooking, sushi, and hibachi, check out Otoro Hibachi in the University Mall in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. At home and you can't get away from the TV because the Crimson Tide is about to score? Don't worry, delivery is also available through Waitr and Crimson2go. That's Otoro Hibachi in the University Mall in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And make sure you let them know the good folks at Touchdown Alabama sent you.
He's been waiting patiently on the phone line for a minute now as we have returned to the break to the hottest show on the streets, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen M. Smith. As always, you got a thought, you call the number 205-448-1358. Once again, 205-448-1358. And the first caller in the queue, we got my man Ricky Green from Dalton, Georgia. Ricky, what's going on?
What's going on, Stephen? How's it going? Roll Tide.
Doing good, man. What's on your mind?
So I wanted to go ahead and I would answer the question that was posed earlier about the landing spots for Tua.
Go ahead.
All right. So I agree with you on the bad spot. Miami Dolphins is not where Tua wants to go. They're a team. They have a high pick for a reason, right? As a team, they're just not very good. I'd hate to see Tua's talent go to Miami and be wasted. As far as a decent landing spot, although it's probably the most unlikely, I'd say the Patriots, just due to Nick Saban and Bill Belichick. Yeah, and Tom Brady, he's on the fence right now. He could be going, he could be staying. I feel like that could be a decent spot for him. But my perfect spot for Tua, I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The reason is because Jameis Winston, he did not have a very good season last year. And from what I understand, he's making quite a few demands as far as his new contract. I feel like maybe if they decide they don't want to deal with Jameis' demands, that they can pick up Tua and he'll have Mike Evans and Goodwin and just a plethora of offensive talent around him. They could be a juggernaut.
I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like that idea just due to what you've mentioned. You got Mike Evans. You would have O.J. Howard. Now, could you get maybe one more talent in there with Tua if the Buccaneers were to pull that route? But then also, I look at this. Having Bruce Arians as your head coach, you can't beat that.
Have a very creative offensive set, and I feel like Tua could thrive in that sort of setting.
Okay, so your perfect spot was Tampa Bay. Your spot of desperation was Miami. Now, what was your decent spot one more time?
My decent spot, the only reason I choose it as my decent spot is because I feel it's the most unlikely, but I'm going with the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick.
New England Patriots and Bill Belichick, the decent spot. Appreciate the call, man. Keep listening.
Okay. Roll Tide.
All right, that was my man Ricky calling in here, just giving his thoughts on Tua Tagovailoa. We're gonna go to another call right now in queue, and talking about the decent spot, the desperate spot, and the most perfect spot in terms of Tua. What's on your mind tonight? You're on In My Own Words. What's going on?
Hey, man. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. What's going on?
Hey, so I just had a question about Bryce Young. I was wondering if there's going to be any language barrier with him coming from California.
Well, there wasn't much of a language barrier at all with Tua coming from Hawaii. So when I look at Bryce Young, of whom a lot of people are trying to compare Tua Tagovailoa. Now, do I think it's fair for the comparison? No, but it's the United States of America, and that's what we do in terms of sports media. I don't think Bryce Young will have an issue communicating with the players around him, with the coaches, and the fans as well. My two questions when I think about Bryce Young would be, number one, how quickly can he pick up the system that will be given to him or shared with him or taught to him, I should say, by Steve Sarkisian? How quickly can he pick that up? And then number two, how quickly can he positively affect the players around him to where when those guys look at Bryce, they're going, that's my quarterback. That's who I want to play for. That's who I want to see under center. That's who I want to see throwing me the doggone football. So for me, it's how quickly can Bryce pick up the things that Steve Sarkisian is going to be sharing with him? And then number two, how quickly can he positively affect other teammates around him?
I hear you, man. I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Do you think Tua Tagovailoa has a chance of starting next year for Alabama? And if so, how much of a chance?
There's a possibility there. The thing with Talia is getting the weight on him. Now, of course, I saw Talia at Tua's announcement to go pro, and it looked like he has thickened up in the neck, thickened up in the hips and the waist. One of the issues I had with the coaching staff this past season was in games where Leah could have went out there and ran the offense through the football, showing people that he can throw the football. I felt like the coaching staff pulled off of that and did not allow him to showcase his arm talent, showcase his arm ability. Now, he does not have the same mechanics as far as passing the ball that his brother Tua had, but at the same time, I look at Leah's ability to escape the pocket, Leah's ability to create on the run, to make plays happen when stuff breaks down, and those are all positive key qualities. He's a bit more athletic than his brother. He talks a bit more trash than Tua does. Now, Tua was a little bit more reserved than Leah, but the one thing I want to see the coaching staff do more is trust Leah to run the offense, trust Leah to use his arm, develop the arm talent that is Tua Tagovailoa. If Sarkisian, Coach Saban, and the staff can do this, then he will get more time on the field to see, more situations of game action. He's got talent. We just need to know, okay, can this young man effectively throw the football?
I feel you.
Appreciate you calling in, man. As always, keep listening to the show.
All right, thanks, Steven.
Got some good callers coming in. First off, from Ricky Green of Dalton, Georgia, and another great caller, fine caller, calling in about Tua Tagovailoa and what would it take for him to get more so on the field. But we're going to continue here with the topic of conversation as we are back when we came back from the break, and that is trivia. Super Bowl trivia. It is Super Bowl weekend, and in honor of this event, from Miami, Florida, with the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl 54. One lucky fan will have the chance to win a free subscription to Touchdown Alabama magazine if they can answer this question right here. We're going to give you 15 seconds. So callers, 205-448-1358, the chance to get your win on. 205-448-1358. You got a chance to answer this question within 15 seconds. The question is, in the Nick Saban era, there were 7 players who played under Nick Saban at Alabama that have a Super Bowl ring. 7 players that played under Nick Saban at Alabama have at least one Super Bowl ring. Name me 5 of the 7 players. And we're going to go to this first caller right here, Waylon Colburn out of Jasper, Alabama. Waylon, do you think you got the 5 players under Saban that have a ring? Waylon? You're in my own words, Waylon.
Yeah, Stephen, it's Stephen M. It sounds good on the podcast tonight. It's sounding good. We're talking about Tua. I'm going to drop the bomb on Tua. The New Orleans Saints. What does that sound like? Come on.
New Orleans Saints sounds good for Tua, Wagon. I mean, it sounds really good. You would have a chance to back up Drew Brees and pretty soon take over for Drew Brees and be the quarterback. But the question I have for you, Wagon, and you got 15 seconds on the clock to do it. If you can do this, you will win a free subscription to Touchdown Alabama magazine. How does that sound?
We'll try it. We'll see what we got.
Okay.
Lay it on me, my friend.
Okay, so in 15 seconds, Waylon, we got the time for you right here. Name me 5 players that played at Alabama under Nick Saban that have a Super Bowl ring.
Oh, 5 players. You got Hightower. You got I can't give you 5. You got me right there in 15 seconds. I know Dante does. You'll have to give that one to somebody else. You got me on that one, Stephen. You got me right there. You got me speechless tonight. You got me.
You got Dante Hightower on there. You needed 4 more, Wagon, but we're gonna keep you.
Yeah, I know it.
We're gonna keep you. We're gonna keep you on the phone line for just a moment here, Wagon, as we look at the Super Bowl coming up right here for the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, you've got Reggie Ragland playing in this one, former Bama linebacker, and Garrett Dieter, former Bama receiver. He's on the practice squad. For the 49ers, you don't really have a former player, but a former player playing, but you have a former player in D'Amico Ryans, who is a coach for the linebacker position. What do you see here, Waylon, in this Super Bowl between Chiefs and 49ers? And what would be your prediction right now?
Well, you have to look at it. The 49ers on defense reminds me of the Alabama defenses of old. Fast, big, and can go the ball. I mean, super quick. Kansas City has no chance of running the ball unless they run it north and south on the 49ers and catch them coming up the field. East and west, it's not going to happen. North and south, possibly, but they will get to Mahomes. I think the 49ers win the Super Bowl. I think they take him out just like they done Lamar Jackson, and he just is just like he didn't
Don't
show
do my
up.
boy Lamar like that, Wagon. Don't do him like that.
They done it. I had to drop the word on you since you got me on the question. It took him. They're gonna do him the same way. They'll take him out. I think it'll be a score. I might say, just to get off, I know there's other callers coming. 34-14.
Okay, 34-14 for Waylon in favor of the 49ers. Okay, Waylon, with that, over or under? I got the over or under at 5. How many tackles do you see from Reggie Ragland?
Over, under. I say it might be a little under. I say around, I'm going to say around 4 or 5. It's going to be close. Maybe 4 probably. 4, I'll say 4.
So 34-14 in favor of the 49ers for Wagon, and he's got Reggie Ragland for the Chiefs picking up 4 tackles. Wagon, appreciate it, man.
I appreciate it, Stephen, but we mentioned one more thing. We talked about We got to get a statue out there at the stadium. We'll coach more on it. Let's try to address that later on in the future shows when we got time. We need that statue out there, Coach Moore. Thank you, Stephen, for talking to me. God bless, and we'll talk again on that situation, okay?
No problem, Waylon. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I was Waylon calling in from Jasper, so he's got down 49ers 34 to the Chiefs 14. He's got Reggie Ragland picking up 4 tackles, and I guess I can try to use my pool to get to Nick Saban. I can try. Nick, get that statue up there of Coach Mal Moore. But it's going to be interesting, man. Super Bowl 54 between Chiefs and 49ers. 49ers do have a very good, legitimate defense. I would love to see at some point, DeMeco Ryans come home to the University of Alabama and coach inside linebackers. I mean, that would just be heaven on earth. He played middle linebacker, was the captain of that 2005 defense that finished in the top 10 in all 5 major defensive categories. He was one of those dudes that could just play the passing lane, stuff the run, attack the quarterback, communicate signals all across the board. He's done a phenomenal job with the linebackers of the 49ers. So at some point, I would like to see DeMeco Ryans come back home to the University of Alabama to coach the inside linebackers. But for right now, he has a job to do. And that job, winning Super Bowl 54 as a coach here for that team in the NFC West, that being the 49ers. Now, while I would be happy if, DeMeco Ryans was to get this, I'm going to pull for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm sorry, Wayne. Sorry, bro. I got to pull for the Kansas City Chiefs. I want Reggie Ragland to get one. Want Reggie Ragland to get a ring. Want Garrett Dieter, that for the life of me, I do not understand why he's still stuck on the practice squad. The man's got hands, he's got route running, he's got some speed, he can block, he can play on special teams. The guy is a universal tool player. A universal tool player. And it's almost a shame at times to look at him on the practice squad. But I want to see Reggie Ragland get a ring. I want to see Garrett Dieter get a Super Bowl championship. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna go back and fact check this. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Ramsey Bino Robinson, former Alabama safety who played under Mike Shula, I believe Ramsey Robinson is part of the Chiefs organization in the player personnel department. Once again, we'll fact check that, but I believe Bino Robinson's on that team too. So if they got Bino, then that'll be Ramsey, Dieter, and Reggie Ragland, all for the Kansas City Chiefs. So hopefully KC can get this done, especially after Baltimore Ravens. I was pulling for you. I was rooting for you. Was rooting for Big Truss. Was rooting for Lamar Jackson. Was rooting for Mark Ingram. Was rooting for Anthony Averett and Marlon Humphrey. I really was. And darn, lost in the AFC divisional playoff game to those Tennessee Titans. Another team I was rooting for. Big Derek King, Heisman Trophy winning Henry, and Rashaan Evans at linebacker. So while the 2 teams I want to have in play could not make the cut, I'm going for the Kansas City Chiefs. And my score, let me see, what will be my prediction? I'm going to go Chiefs in this game. Give me Chiefs 32, 49ers 21. 32-21 in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs, taking that win there in Super Bowl 54. Well, we're going to go here to our next break, but folks, don't touch that dial. Still taking your phone calls, 205-448-1358. Once again, 205-448-1358. That trivia still going. If you got the 5 players at Alabama in the Nick Saban era that have a Super Bowl ring, send that in for a shot at a free subscription to TDA. But we'll be back to that free-for-all call-in after this.
Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $5.95 per month or pay $49.95 for a full year subscription. That's a saving of almost $22. Make sure to subscribe before it's too late and get our new freshly printed end of the year magazine issue. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
Still kicking back in the Mercedes-Benz going 100 miles down the freeway. We are, in my own words, the podcast, Touchdown Alabama Magazine, hottest show on the streets, best form of Crimson Tide football news, notes, and information. Back in from the break. The number, 205-448-1358 to be a part of the show, 205-448-1358. You can also text with that number. If Twitter is your thing, I'm a Twitter person, you can tweet the show directly at In My Own Words TDA. You can tweet the show directly at In My Own Words TDA. If you feel like doing a little loving on Stephen M. Smith, and I appreciate that if you do, you can tweet me directly at Coaching M. Smith on Twitter. That's at Coaching M. Smith. We also have a lovely chat line on YouTube, so you can leave your thoughts on the chat line as well. But if you have a thought on Tua Tagovailoa, the most desperate destination for him, the most decent destination, or the most perfect destination, we're taking those thoughts there on Tua Tagovailoa. If you have the 5 players in the Nick Saban era in Alabama that have at least one Super Bowl ring, you have those 5 players, get your win on right now. Have a chance to win a free subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine. If you call that number, and we are at the point in the show where it's now a free-for-all for the fans, 205-448-1358, 205-448-1358. If you got a thought, question, concern, if you just want to come on here and vent, you have that time right now, the floor right now here live on the show. And as you know, you guys are getting your thoughts together, I'm going to harp on some things that people have said in terms of the destination spots for Tua. I know I said Indianapolis for me would be the perfect spot, just seeing how you've got the offensive line set in stone there. You would have the young talents in place. You have a smart, ambitious general manager in Chris Ballard who knows what he's doing. I like the idea that Waylon had of the New Orleans Saints, having him Tua with Sean Payton, getting him to learn from Drew Brees. Of course, Brees has about 1 to 2, maybe even 3 years left before he calls it a career, and you can get Tua more so acclimated to that system. I like the idea of the New England Patriots, though I can't stand New England. I do not want Tua with the devil in a hoodie and Bill Belichick. No offense to you, Bill. Please don't come at me. But would not want to see Tua in New England. Another team, but I would be happy to see Tua go to as the perfect landing spot, the Atlanta Falcons. Arthur Blank, Thomas Dimitroff. You can hear me right now. Take the rest of Matt Ryan's contract and just eat it, okay? Just eat the rest of Matt Ryan's contract and draft Tua, please. Because no more of wasting the greatest years of Julio Jones. Julio Jones is the biggest ambassador of all time when you talk Alabama football. When Julio Jones put on the Alabama gloves and the hat in 2008, I mean, it just flipped the script in recruiting just like that. Because for the longest of time, Auburn had the coast in recruiting. Auburn controlled that, had that in high demand. But the moment Julio said, you know what, Nick Saban, I'm going to stamp you as the best in the game, Julio became instant fan favorite, the biggest ambassador for Tide football. Now, of course, he's got some competition with Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts and Damian Harris, among others, but Julio, the biggest ambassador. And with Matt Ryan continuing to be at quarterback, I feel like the Falcons are just wasting away the best years of Julio. So, Thomas Dimitroff, Arthur Blank, eat the rest of the Matt Ryan contract. Do the right thing here. If you can package together some picks and trade up, Mother Mary, Father Joseph, sweet baby Jesus, do it. Package together some picks, have a player in there, trade up from that number 16 spot, draft Tua, so Bama Nation can have Tua to Julio, Tua to Calvin Ridley, Tua to Austin Hooper, Tua to whomever the Atlanta Falcons will have him to throw to. So that'll be another perfect spot. I've often also thought about the Tennessee Titans. I mean, especially after this year, and when you go into free agency coming up in March, the Titans more than likely are going to deal away Marcus Mariota at the trade deadline, and then with the way that Ryan Tannehill was able to hold down the fort, if Tennessee chooses to not provide him with an extension, you almost have to feel like they will let him walk as well. So if that becomes the case, what better way for Tua to honor somebody that he idolized growing up in Marcus Mariota than for the Tennessee Titans to draft Tua, put him there with Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown and the rest of the crew. So you got the Atlanta Falcons, you got the Tennessee Titans, you've got the New Orleans Saints, you got the, of course, the New England Patriots. Just so many fantastic options to choose from when you talk Tua. But as I mentioned before to start the show, the biggest thing for him is to go out there and win the medical part of things. Make sure all the boxes are checked off in terms of his hip, take part in the interviews, blow the scouts, coaches away with his savvy, his intelligence, his football IQ, his mannerisms in the interviews. And then when it comes down to his pro day, which will be more than likely in mid-April, going to the pro day, show the scouts that you can bend, maneuver, finesse, work around on that hip to where it's not giving you any lingering pain, any lingering discomfort. You can make the throws on that hip. You can put passes in the right spots and assure yourself that you will not drop in terms of out of the top 5 in the NFL draft. Now, the weirdest thing about all of this is while I would like to see Tua get the guaranteed money, I would like to see Tua go in the top 5, top 10, and much of you out there want to see the same thing. It's just you never want to see him go, or a person or a player go in the top 5, top 10, and even though they get the money, they end up on a team that's really not suited for them, and it's a struggle for them, versus if they fall in the draft, though they may lose some money, they get with the team that is set up for them to be successful. They have the front office to set them up. You've got the coaches to set you up. You have the teammates, the players around you, the talents around you to set you up for success. And at times, I'm reminded of Eddie Jackson. Good old Eddie Pick Six Jackson. I'm reminded of EJ a lot. And, you know, Eddie, a first-round talent, somebody of whom to this day Tide fans believe if that man just did not get hurt against Texas A&M on a freak punt return in 2016, Bama would have beaten Clemson. Bama would have beaten Dabo Swinney. Bama would have won a national championship. If Eddie Pick Six Jackson did not get hurt, and believe you me, y'all, I feel your pain. Feel your pain, because I feel it every single day. But Eddie Jackson, despite the injury, we saw what happened. A first-round talent that ended up going in the 4th round, Jeff Allen, Dr. James Andrews, Dr. Lyle Kane. Boy, that sports medicine team does an incredible job of restoring the careers of players. And, once Eddie got hurt in 2016, they got him through the surgery, patched him up, fixed him up. He performed well in, of course, the combine. He performed well in his pro day, did some things at the combine, and though he failed to the 4th round, pick 112 to the Chicago Bears, look at Jackson now. The brother is the highest paid safety in the NFL. We're talking $58.4 million. That's some cheddar. That's some big cheddar right there. That's drip too hard cheddar right there. So Eddie Jackson, highest paid safety in the league, and he kind of gave not even kind of, he gave, Nick Saban possibly the greatest recruiting pitch of all time in terms of, getting guys that are draft eligible players to not be so apprehensive, so nervous, so anxious, especially if they're battling injuries or coming off injuries and you don't know what's my draft stock going to look like. Am I going to fall? Are people going to talk me down? Are people going to sit there and make me feel like a prom night dumpster baby and not respect me? Well, all Nick Saban has to do is say, son, we had Eddie Jackson. Look at him. Son, we had Kenyon Drake who broke his leg. Look at him. Son, we had Sean Dion Hamilton. We had C.J. Mosley who had a hip injury. We have so many players to choose from that have battled medical mishaps and are now in the National Football League having big-time success. So, while Tua had the mindset of, I hate being hurt because I don't want to let Nick Saban down, I feel like at the end of the day, people will remember Tua for what he did, the positive that he did, the impact that he had, the charisma that he had, the way he was able to make guys around him better and have guys exit his presence better than what they came into it. So big ups there for Tua as he prepares for the combine and to take part in the medical things and visit certain teams. But just getting back into the Super Bowl topic for just a moment here. And once again, folks, that number 205-448-1358, 205-448-1358. Phone lines wide open for you to let your voice be heard on the hottest show on the streets. In my own words, the podcast, the opportunity to win a free subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Get you a free magazine right now, going on right now. If you can name 5 players that played at Alabama under Nick Saban that have a Super Bowl ring. There are 7 of these guys, but if you can name 5 of the 7, you get you that subscription to TDA. We had my man Waylon on earlier. He tried, could only name one, Donta Hightower, but hey, gave it his best effort. But continuing here with the Super Bowl conversation, it'll be a fun one, man, down there in Miami, Florida. Kind of wish I was down there right now, going through the different TV stations and, talking to different people and being able to go inside the game, go inside the matchup and seeing what the Chiefs can do with Patrick Mahomes, what the Chiefs can do offensively to make plays against a vaunted 49ers defense that has DeMeco Ryans as one of its coaches. And on top of that, looking forward to seeing what the likes of Reggie Ragland can do on the defensive side of the ball for the Chiefs. He and Frank Clark, who were able to keep Derrick Henry at bay. Well, can they keep Pat Mahomes? They were able to keep Derrick Henry at bay, but can they keep Jimmy Garoppolo, Deebo Samuel, and the guys for the 49ers at bay here coming up in Super Bowl 54. And something that's interestingly enough funny here is we talk about the amount of players that Nick Saban has put into the league, but we don't spend a lot of time on talking about the amount of players that are having big-time success. Of course, we always mention Julio, but you got Julio, you got Mark Ingram, you got Josh Jacobs, who, by the way, if you haven't checked out his Kia Super Bowl commercial, please do. And have you a box of Puffs Plus with you as you're checking out that commercial. Some tears coming out of my face when I was watching that. But you got Julio, you got Ingram, you got Josh Jacobs, you got Derrick Henry, you have Kenyon Drake, you have Minkah Fitzpatrick, Amari Cooper, just so many guys in the NFL coming from the University of Alabama, having big-time success, having major success, and you definitely wish the best for them as they continue. Well, as we're getting the hold on now. We got Waylon believes. My man Waylon of Jasper, Alabama believes he's got the answer to the trivia question. Waylon, if you got the answer, you know what to do, my man. Call in 205-448-1358. We go to Waylon right now. Waylon believes he's got the answer. Waylon, hit me with it. Wayne, you're on. Hit me with that answer, man.
I cheated, but you're going to have to give this one away to somebody else. Okay. It was Malcolm Butler, Carlos Danbury, Eric Davis, Trey Flowers, and Dante Hightower. Boom!
Well, those are players weighing in with Alabama roots. I'm referring to players under Nick Saban.
Oh, I thought you said. Well, you got me again. I'm gonna have to get you for this, Stephen. This is not over.
Okay. Hey, I give you this though. You got the ones with the Alabama roots, but we're looking for the ones that played under Nick Saban. But Wayne, we appreciate you though living it out with us.
Hey, I had to try to spice it up again. It's somebody else's turn. Thank you, Stephen. Have a good night, my friend.
You do. I give Wayne that credit. He tried, no? He tried. Got the ones with the Alabama roots, but we're looking for the ones that have played under Nick Saban, and there's 7 of those that played under Nick Saban, but we're looking for the 5. Well, as you guys are getting your thoughts together, we're going to go to another break. When we get back, I will dive into my 5 freshmen that I feel like Alabama will not be able to keep off the field. The number 205-448-1358 to be a part of the show. We're coming back.
If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt it, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All-Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to stsfootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to stsfootwear.com and get your All-Bama sneakers today.
Back into the action here in My Own Words, the podcast, hottest show on the streets, live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Your man, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. As always, people, you have a thought, question, or concern, let your voice be heard on the show. 205-448-1358. That number again to call, 205-448-1358. If Twitter is your thing, you can tweet the show at In My Own Words TDA. You can tweet the show at In My Own Words TDA. Now, of course, if you feel like tweeting me, and I will be welcome to that, you can tweet yours truly at Coaching M. Smith. I can be found at Coaching M. Smith on Twitter. We also have a lovely chat line on YouTube to where you can leave your thoughts, questions, and concerns there. Wow, as you guys continue to get those thoughts together, we transition into just my 5 guys in terms of freshmen coming into this 2020 class at Alabama may not be able to keep off the field when you look at spring ball coming up soon and the 2020 football season in the fall. It was awesome having our own Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama Magazine, join us earlier in the show, and I encourage you to follow him on his show, The Process, on YouTube, which comes out on Mondays and Wednesdays as he breaks down these young athletes class by class by class. I think Justin's so excited he's about to jump into the 2023 class for some reason. So definitely want to check out the fine work that Justin is doing on the trail. But the 5 guys for me, 5 freshmen, but I believe Alabama will not be able to keep off the field. And starting this off at number 5, Will Anderson from Hampton, Georgia, the outside linebacker, the 5-star, 6'3" and 233 pounds. This guy's the real deal. And as much as you want to see the competition be won, on the field and in practice, you've got Chris Allen, who can play rush linebacker, King Wakuda, Kevin Harris II, Jerez Parks, also Ben Davis. Can't forget about Ben Davis, although people love to write Ben Davis off for some odd reason. Oh, I know the reason, because he did not pop the way you think he would pop, but he's still a part of the roster. And then along with the young guys, with Will Anderson, you have Drew Sanders, you have the likes of Quandarius Robinson and Chris Braswell. But the reason why I'm bringing up Will Anderson here is going back to the All-American Bowl in Texas. He was coming off the edge. He was affecting the passing game. He was sacking the quarterback. He was creating negative plays, tackles for loss. And when Alabama has been at its best, when Alabama has had the national championships in its tenure under Nick Saban, when you look at 2009, 2011, 2012, 2015, and 2017, the reason behind those titles is the Tide have an exceptional, solid play at the outside linebacker position where they can just turn those guys loose and they meet up at the quarterback and they're able to help the secondary create those massive turnovers. And if there was a position where a true freshman can win and blossom at, I would say that outside linebacker, that jack, rush linebacker spot. And this is a good thing, folks, because we are about to get back to this program having true competition at each position to where we will know we're getting, or we will know that we're seeing the best player at each position. We will know we're seeing the best at quarterback, the best at running back, the best at receiver, the best on the offensive line, and the best on defense. We're getting back to having that true, full-fledged competition at every spot on the field. So number 5, for me, a guy that Alabama will not be able to keep off the field is Will Anderson, an outside linebacker from Hampton, Georgia. At number 4, we will stay on the defensive side of the football. We pick up Jamarian Latham, the 4-star defensive lineman from Reform, Alabama, Pickens County High School at 6'3", 280 pounds. And it's crazy. It is crazy when you talk about him. But before we continue the conversation, looks like we got somebody in the queue right now. What's going on? You are on In My Own Words. What's on your mind tonight?
How's it going, Steven? I'm loving the show. I wanted to talk to see if I can get your thoughts on the some more of these guys that's going to be helping with the linebacking crew. I know a lot of the talk in the season was Christian Harris and Shane Lee. And now with Dylan Moses coming back, I'm curious as to, how you see some of these younger guys filling in, who's going to be next to Moses, whether it's going to be Lee or Harris. Me personally, I really like Harris, but I just kind of want to know your thoughts on that.
When you look at the linebacker position, especially inside, I really like DeMoy Kennedy. And here's a young man that hails from Theodore High School in Theodore, Alabama. He played for the same high school as C.J. Mosley. And when that name's brought up, people go, well, you can't be comparing him possibly to C.J. Mosley. We're talking about a 2-time All-American, a 2-time first-team All-SEC selection, a Defensive Player of the Year, a Butkus Award winner, a national champion, just a guy that anchored the middle of that defense for the time he was at the capstone. But that C.J. Mosley, DeMoy Kennedy played at the same high school as Mosley. And I remember our own Justin Smith of Touchdown Alabama magazine got a chance to speak with the coach at Theodore High School, and he talked about how Kennedy is one of the more hardest working talents, young men he's ever been around. So Kennedy's an early enrollee, one of 13 of these guys, and he'll push, he'll fight, he'll claw his way. He will make everybody around him better. So I like DeMoy Kennedy. Another linebacker, another one of the young guys, the Jackson Bratton kid out of Muscle Shoals, Alabama. I feel like he's kind of got that Dylan Lee caveman wild style. And Dylan Lee, who came out of Beaufort, Georgia, when he was recruited, I believe he was in the 2011 class, 2011 or 2012, if I'm not mistaken. But when Dylan Lee came in, I remember the biggest thing about him was his versatility. He could play anywhere in the linebacker rotation, could play outside, play inside, just a multiple role guy. And Jackson Bratton has that same type of skill set, that same type of ability. So Jackson Bratton and DeMoy Kennedy are 2 young guys at inside linebacker that I believe will get quite a bit of playing time just due to they're going to push. And if I've mentioned this once, I've probably mentioned this 1,000 times. When an Alabama kid gets an offer, when an in-state talent gets an offer from Alabama, it's like hitting the lottery. It's home. They want to defend home. As much as you want to get the guys from Georgia and Texas and California, New York, Virginia, just across the world, and it's great to have those guys, but those guys do not understand the Iron Bowl rivalry much like an in-state talent does. Those guys do not understand the Alabama-Tennessee rivalry much like those in-state talents do. These guys grew up listening to folks in the barbershop talk about, bruh, did you see Van Tiffin make that 52-yard field goal back in 1985, bruh? I remember where I was when I was getting me a mean drink when I saw that thing happen. Do you remember, when Tyrone Prothro caught that pass in '05, bruh? I was bawling my eyes out when homeboy got hurt. I can't believe Schuler kept that boy in that game, even when Alabama was blowing the brakes off Florida in Urban Meyer. So those in-state kids, they were in the barbershop hearing that conversation. They grew up with the parents, the grandparents, the relatives talking to them about, Bama football and the traditions, the tailgate and the game. So I look at Demore Kennedy, I look at Jackson Bratton, I like those two inside. Outside, I mentioned Will Anderson, but Quandarius Robinson, the young man out of Jackson Olin High School in Birmingham, I think he can be really good there on the outside as well. As much as I like Shane Lee and Christian Harris, and more importantly, Harris, just due to how he grew throughout the year 2019, these young cats, they ain't no joke. They're looking to get Alabama back in the college football playoff.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking my question. I agree with you, Stephen. I'm loving the show, loving what you guys are doing, and thank you for everything, and roll tide to you, man.
Roll Tide, we had a good call coming in there about the linebacker position. Where Alabama could be looking at both an inside and outside linebacker in terms of the young freshman. But getting back to the list of the guys that Alabama will not be able to keep off the field, I left off number 4, Jamarian Latham at 6'3", 280 pounds. And I know my man JP is on the other end of his glass there, so he's not going to probably hear what I'm about to say here. But JP, if you can hear me from the other end of the glass, I played high school ball. Well, I played high school ball at Francis Marion. Played 3 years of high school ball. I also do some volunteer coaching back home. And Francis Marion, we played against Pickens County a couple of years back. And I saw Jamarian Latham. I witnessed this kid for myself as a volunteer coach. It's something when you can watch the clips, you can watch the highlights, you can watch the film, but when your eyes, when the pupils to your soul, when they see that person for themselves, that's when you know, good God, this is crazy. So I saw Jamarian Latham for myself. That boy whooped the dog snot out of our offensive line, JP. I mean, he whooped the dog snot out of Francis Marion's offensive line. I mean, no offense to my alma mater, Ram all the way, baby. But we got whooped by Jamarian Latham in that game. I mean, quick off the line of scrimmage, a non-stop motor, fast hands, can bull rush, can swim rush, can spin move, can two-gap. The guy reminds me right now of Jaron Reed. Right now. Jamarian Latham is Jaron Reed 2.0 to me right now. Now, of course, he will have to pick up 20 extra pounds to get to the size that Jaron Reed was at 300 pounds. But as far as talent and ability, oh, no question. Jaron Reed 2.0 right now is Jamarian Latham. And while Alabama's got Timothy Smith already for this 2020 class and looking to reel in McKinley Jackson, I really like what Latham brings to the table, the 4-star out of Reform, Alabama, Pickens County High School. Number 3, sticking with defense once again. You see the pattern here. We go to a guy that I was just recently here discussing with the caller, Demore Kennedy from Theodore, Alabama, inside linebacker at 6'3", 215 pounds. Once again, comes from the same high school as C.J. Mosley. He will push. He will fight. He will claw. I feel like him as an early enrollee, he is already going to get the the beginning portions of the defensive system under Pete Golding as defensive coordinator and inside linebackers coach, also Nick Saban at head coach. And while I'm happy about Dylan Moses, I'm happy about Joshua McMillan being back, I'm happy about the progression that Christian Harris made. Can Shane Lee improve? Can Shane Lee get better? I'm not going to write him off to the Wolves just yet. I think there's an opportunity for Shane Lee. To me, at times, I feel like he overthinks things. Just go out there and play the game, read, react, see the ball, attack the ball, see the play, attack the play. But DeMaury Kennedy, to me, will be somebody that will be difficult to keep off the field just due to high instincts, high intelligence, high IQ. He's definitely got the size at 6'3", once again, 215 pounds. Got a lot of ability, so he will push for some playing time. Kennedy, number 3. At number 2, we can finally get to an offensive talent. Bring him on down, Thiu Jones-Bell at wide receiver. I have Carroll Creek, Florida at 5'11", 190 pounds. We got another caller in the queue right now, and this caller comes out of Augusta, Georgia. You are on the hottest show on the streets, In My Own Words, the podcast with Stephen Smith, yours truly. What's going on?
I'm doing good, Stephen. How you doing tonight?
Man, I cannot complain, man. Blessed, feeling good, happy about the Super Bowl, but more so happy for spring ball. Come on back, football.
Oh, yeah, looking forward to it. I think I got the answer to your question there. The 5 players on the Saban that won the Super Bowl.
Okay, 5 players on the Saban that won the Super Bowl. You got 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
Okay.
Justin Tuck.
Yeah, go
Malcolm
ahead.
Butler. Dante Hightower. DeMarcus Ware. Trey Flowers.
We're looking for the ones under Nick Saban. We're looking for the ones under Nick Saban, not the ones with Alabama roots, but the ones that played under Nick Saban at Alabama.
Oh, okay.
Looking for the ones that played under Nick Saban at Alabama. Good try, though.
Okay. Oh, yeah, got me this time. All right, let me go back and do some more research.
Now, do you have any more questions that you want to throw in here?
Well, actually, the defense. I like to ask this question: Do you think that Saban's going to bring in a coordinator to assist Pete Golding? He's a great recruiter, but sometimes I think he has a problem making adjustments during the game. So I think that's one of the reasons why the defense kind of suffered a little bit over the last 2 years. So you think that they might need to bring in a co-defensive coordinator to help them out with that?
I feel like it needs to be addressed or looked into, bringing in a veteran guy, a proven guy, and have Pete, learn from that guy for about 2 to 3 years or however long the guy chooses to stay with the Crimson Tide, and then revisit the idea of Pete being the guy, because as you mentioned, he really is a top-tier coordinator. The players around the program really seem to like him, really seem to respect him. When you look at Nick Saban, he always seems complimentary of Pete Golding, just seeing how he had a tough situation this past year. You walk into the glass half empty with Dylan Moses out before the year starts. Joshua McMillan out before the year starts. 3 games into the year, you lose LeBron Ray, and then down into the season, you lose DJ Dillon as well. So he was able to kind of, I guess, maneuver the best way that he could. But I look at your statement, your question, it needs to be addressed, having somebody in here that is experienced, that knows how to set defenses, set systems in order, and have Pete learn, from that particular individual, whether it's a Charlie Strong or whomever is out there. The question with that would become, how long would Nick Saban be able to keep that coach attracted to, Alabama to help Pete out? Because as you know, in the last few years, Alabama has dealt with the nastiest coaching turnover.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a spot where coaches come to to land a head coaching, or coordinators come to land a head coaching job. But I think he just needs a little bit more experience. I think the guy would need they wouldn't need to be there for a couple of years though, because I think he just needs some experience. He's good at getting talent, but as far as molding it and making adjustments and having experience, I think that's just his problem. So I think if he ever decided to do that, I think just a few years experience, and I think he would be ready to handle it on his own.
I think so as well. You look at he's got the patience, seeing how he was able to work with Shane Lee and Christian Harris throughout the year, and the improvement week by week that Harris made. Now Lee, I mentioned, going to have to not think so much, read and react to the play. But week by week, you saw, Harris get better, whether it was not being fooled on a play or hitting the gap on a play, blowing up a play in the backfield for a loss. Sometimes his athleticism just really took over. So the patience is there for Pete Golding. The ability to recruit is there for Pete Golding. It's just finding ways to become more confident in the scheme he wants to have on the field, but not just that, having the confidence in making those substitutions, because there were times where when Alabama substituted, it didn't get the right guys on the field, and then you had Xavier McKinney from his free safety spot having to come down and tap guys on the butt, hey, get here, hey, get there, hey, get over there, and then have to jump back into his safety spot to make the play. So I guess just the confidence in understanding how to set the system up, and then the confidence to make the right substitutions, those will be the next in the growth of Golding.
Okay, sounds good. I think that's going to help. And I think also to having that defensive line coach, too, that's going to give them a lot more knowledge about where to be.
Freddie's the man.
And
Freddie Roach is the man.
Yeah, that's going to help out a lot. So I think, because a lot of times that defensive line seems like they were a little bit confused and they were a little bit out of position, and seemed they just didn't play with a lot of aggression this year, like a typical Nick Saban coach defense. So I'm pretty sure seems like he was a little frustrated most of the year, but I think having somebody that played there and knows the Alabama way and how they coach, how they like to play defense, I think that's going to help out a lot.
It will definitely help out a lot. I'm looking forward to spring ball coming back here in March and seeing the true definition of competition and having the best player at every single role on the field.
Okay, and I got one more question. This is related to the quarterback situation. Do you think that the incoming quarterback, Bryce Young, do you think he's going to be able to beat out I can't think of the guy that's there now. But you think what do you think about that quarterback competition? Do you think that the situation is going to be more suited towards Bryce Young, or do you think the young guy that's there now, that's waited his turn and did everything right, do you think Nick Saban is going to give him an opportunity?
I like the potential that Bryce Young brings. I've seen a lot of clips, a lot of videos on him, like the arm talent, the mobility, the dual threat things that he can do in terms of Alabama. The two things I always harp on when people talk with me about Bryce Young is, number one, how quickly will he be able to pick up what Steve Sarkisian is going to express and share with him? How quickly can he pick that up? And then number two, how quickly can he positively affect the guys around him to where when they look at him, they go, okay, this is my quarterback. This is somebody I want under center. This is the guy I'm going to block for. This is the guy I want throwing me the football. When we have this cat right here, we believe we can win a national championship. So those two things high on my mind when you talk about Bryce Young. But I think Mac Jones, the quarterback you are referring to, can honestly get the job done. And for the life of me at times, I don't understand why people cast Mac Jones to the side. I mean, this is somebody that when Tua got hurt against Tennessee, and then ultimately the dislocated hip against Mississippi State, quite honestly, when your number one guy goes down, when your top guy gets hurt, you at times see a coaching staff go really conservative, go really bland, go very vanilla with the play calling. because they really don't trust the backup quarterback. That was not the case with Mac Jones. Even when Tua went down, Steve Sarkisian said, hey, look, we got a guy right here who's been in this system for 3 years. He knows what we expect. He practices probably harder than anybody else. He's prepared harder than anybody else. He knows his offense. Let's trust him to run the same things we were running with Tua. And when Alabama did that, you saw Mac Jones go out there and make big plays, throwing the ball deep down the field, making those post patterns, those out routes, those slant routes, the same things that Tagovailoa was able to do, or that Tagovailoa did. Mac Jones showed he is highly capable of doing those things. And with the talent around the quarterback position, especially at running back and wide receiver, to me, it doesn't matter who's throwing the pigskin. You got the talent to make, all those guys look good. But for me, I like the potential that Bryce Young brings. I think he will get playing time. He will play. But I honestly believe that with Mac Jones at quarterback, Alabama can certainly win a national championship.
Yeah, I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's more of a system quarterback. And I think with the defense not being as stout as it usually is in the past, sometimes you get in games where you have to have it's like a shootout. It's like you have to outscore your opponent. And in those games, both the losses this year, both of them were not the fault of the offense. The offense scored enough points. When you score that many points, you're supposed to win. It's that the defense gave up more points than they could score. So as far as the Matt Jones, Bryce Young question goes, is who gives you the opportunity to your offense, the opportunity to put up the most points? Who gives you the ability to be able to score with other teams if your defense is kind of, not really, holding the other team or not able to keep them off the scoreboard? How do you, in certain games like that, you're going to need someone who can put up points. I think Matt Jones is a great quarterback. Like you said, I think he's very good in a normal Alabama team with their defense. If their defense is stout the way it has been in the past, there would be no question. The quarterback would be no question. Matt Jones would be your guy. But when the defense has the way it's looked over the last couple of years, it brings into question: can they keep the other teams off the scoreboard? How many points are you going to have to put up to win? And that puts the onus back on your offense. And now you have to put up points to win these games. And sometimes, you got to put the guy in there that's going to give you your offense becomes your best defense.
Well, when you bring up that part right there, I look at Bryce Young, and he could give you the best option in terms of keeping the points on the board and forcing the opposition to play catch-up. With me, with Bryce, it goes back to the two things that I've mentioned, because he's already here and enrolled and going through the strength and conditioning program. I'm going to get a chance to see him in spring ball. And if I can look at him and see, with him in this offense, it gives Alabama more so of an opportunity, regardless of what the defense looks like, to win a national championship. Then I can definitely see Bryce Young. Now, I look at this defense being way more improved this season than what it was the last 2 years, but I surely do like the potential that Bryce Young is going to bring to the table, and I'm looking forward to March getting in here because I want to see this kid with my own eyes.
Yeah, I think he's a real deal. I'm looking at him. I think he's the reincarnation of Tua. I think he's going to and I think him and Steve Sarkisian are going to work well together because Sarkisian has that West Coast offense, and he was, he came up in high school running that type of offense. So I think the adjustment's going to be seamless as far as him and the offense goes. I think they run something similar at Mater Day, just the high school they went to, because they run a sophisticated style offense at that school. That's one of the top programs in the nation. So I think he'll be ready. I think it'll be a seamless transition for him. It's just a matter of whether he's able to, actually perform and that continuity with the guys that are already there.
Most definitely. Well, my man, I appreciate you for the call. Continue to listen to the show, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. Thank you for taking my call. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
No problem. We even had some thoughts there on Bryce Young. And will he be able to take into this offense, get this offense down, and be the quarterback and potentially beat out Mac Jones for that job here? Well, still, 205-448-1358, the number to call to let your voice be heard here on the show. Still doing the whole thing about the trivia. If you got the 5 players that played under Nick Saban that have at least one Super Bowl ring, definitely want to hear from you to get that free subscription to Touchdown Alabama magazine. That is 205-448-1358 to get your win on. But we continue, as I was at number 2 in terms of my list of players that Alabama will not be able to keep off the field as freshmen for 2020. I was on Thayou Jones-Bell, and as I was saying, it's going to be difficult. Well, before we get back into the conversation, we got another call in the queue. This one's coming out of Memphis, Tennessee. You are on live on In My Own Words, the podcast with Stephen Smith. What's going on?
Hey, Stephen, how you doing?
Doing well, and yourself?
Oh, man, I'm great. Dude, I love your show.
I appreciate it, man. Hey, try my best to give the callers what they want, and that is Alabama football 24 hours a day.
Roll Tide, baby. But, yeah, man, I've been listening to the talk, and, with Bryce Young. And, dude, the kid is a phenomenal quarterback. I watched him in the, the All-American game? Or where all the, the seniors from high school played.
Yeah.
And, dude, the kid is on point. But, man, I'm telling you, I really love Mac 10, dude, the way he took the steering wheel. And don't get me wrong, he looked nervous against Tennessee. Yeah. I guess thrown in and looking at Tua getting toted off the field. Be honest with you, he looked a little shocked. But, dude, I think Mac 10's a real deal, too. So,
I don't like the way she smells.
I want to see him. I want to see Talia play. And, Bear Bryant's grandson or great-grandson. We're just stacked in that room.
It is. It is.
Go ahead, Steve.
It is a great quarterback room, and to this day, I look at Dan Enos and go, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? You're about to be promoted to OC, and you leave to go to Miami, and you leave behind probably one of the best quarterback rooms in college football. And
it was
you
a
look
joke.
at, of course, Mac Jones. I brought up the fact that even when Tua got hurt, he looked a little bit nervous against Tennessee, but the way he played against Arkansas, against Auburn in the Iron Bowl, despite the 2 pick sixes, he came back, 4 touchdowns, really hung in there, took some tough hits, and then he shut up khaki pants in Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, with the 35-16 win. And the biggest thing is when you can run your offense confidently, not hold anything back with your backup quarterback, that's a big deal. I brought up Talia, and I want to see the coaching staff really develop his arm and show the trust in him that they believe he can throw the football. And then Paul Tyson, here's a guy that not too many people talk about, but I see 4 NFL quarterbacks in this young man. He is bigger than just being, Paul Bear Bryant's great-grandson, though a lot of people feel as though, well, he's just the Bears' great-grandboy. I don't know the talent he's got. He's got immense talent. I remember I was talking to Bobby Humphrey, former Alabama running back Bobby Humphrey a while back, and Bobby told me, he said, Stephen, I'm going to tell you this right now. I saw all of Paul Tyson as a junior, and I saw half of him as a senior. And in both of the years I saw Tyson, 75 that 80% of his passes were right on the money. Receivers didn't have to bend, they didn't have to turn, they didn't have to overwork, they didn't have to over-contort the body. He put it right there. So you have a tremendous quarterback room. And I mean, what this means is whomever wins the job, you're going to get somebody that's going to terrorize the competition.
Oh, absolutely. And to bring it back to Enos, that was a joke. He went to a program that he was not appreciated at. I mean, I kept up with Miami because Enos went there. I watched their games, and I have never seen more laziness out of players. I mean, it's like they didn't care. They were laughing it up. And, I mean, don't get me wrong. The Miami Hurricanes program is a great program, and half of them boys shouldn't even have the honor to wear that shirt and represent their university. And then to turn around and blame it on Enos, that man's a winner everywhere he's been. You can't tell me Enos went there and forgot how to teach. I'm sorry.
You can't. You can't. It's just painful that he, did not remain at Alabama to work with Tua, to work with Mac, and the quarterback room Alabama had just a season ago. But my man, predictions here for the Super Bowl. What you got in the Super Bowl?
49ers, baby. I think Garoppolo is going to get it done.
The 49ers, you got a score for that?
Yeah. Sir?
You have a score for that?
It's going to be a one-score game.
Okay. You got 49ers, one-score game. So I got the over or under for Reggie Ragland at 5 tackles. How many tackles you see from Reggie Ragland?
Oh, man. I'm going to say over 5.
You got over 5?
Yeah.
Okay, we got over 5 tackles for Reggie Ragland, and the 49ers winning a close one. Well, my man, appreciate the call, man. Keep listening to the show.
Man, keep doing your thing, man. There, you always. I'm like, man, I wonder what's going on with this, and I can check my YouTube periodically, and I'll be darned if you don't have it on there. I mean, and dude, what you said about Joe Burrow and the domination thing, you were so on point, man. I laughed it up after I heard you burn his butt.
I mean, you can't equate 5 points as domination. You simply just can't, but my man, I appreciate it.
All right, Stephen, you have a wonderful evening, buddy, and roll tide.
Roll tide. We're going to go to another caller in queue. This is another one. Well, my pardon. I thought we had another caller in the queue. We did not. But we got another caller in queue. This one from Augusta, Georgia. You're live on In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith. What's on your mind?
Hey, I was just hanging out with my cousin, and he gave me the good news that Tua's coming back for his senior year.
No, Tua's not coming back for his senior year. You've been pranked.
Oh no! I also really like the music.
I'm so sorry. You have just been Ashton Kutcher. You just got punked. I'm sorry.
Oh no!
Tua Tagovailoa
I
not
really
coming
like
back
the music
for
in your waiting queue, though.
Say it again.
I like the music in your waiting queue.
Oh yes. That is courtesy of the maestro in the production room behind the glass. Wave your hand, man. Wave your hand, maestro. Maestro is waving his hand. We can't see him, but he's waving his hand in the production.
That
in the
song
production
really
room there,
hits
but,
different.
I mean, but what's on your mind this evening? This Super Bowl weekend evening?
Oh, I just thought Tua was coming back for his senior year.
I'm sorry, he's not coming back for his senior year. I'm sorry, but thank you for calling.
What about Jamil Burroughs?
Now he is looking to be a part of the University of Alabama on the defensive line. I like him. Out of Georgia, the Tide is hoping that he qualifies academically. That's the news going on right now. But should he qualify, this is somebody that's going to give you not just
grades up.
Yeah, he's going to have to get those grades up. He's going to have to get those grades up. You're right about that. But he gets those grades up, he will be a solid addition to the program.
Dang, I'm really glad that he's coming back.
Yeah, I know.
What about week 3 at Georgia?
That's going to, you know what? I'm going to have not only am I going to have my TV set for that game, but I'm going to be at that game. And I'll be honest with you, I'm somewhat excited and somewhat nervous at the same time.
Yeah, I feel that.
Somewhat excited and somewhat nervous at the same time because I have respect for Kirby Smart, but with me covering Alabama, got to go against Kirby Smart on this one.
Yeah, I got one more question. What do you think about Paul Tyson?
Think the kid's the real deal. Think he's got a big-time arm. He's just in need of an opportunity.
Yeah, I feel that.
But thank you so much. You continue to listen to the show.
Thank you.
Got some callers
Have
all
a great
over Georgia
night
tonight. So we're gonna dive into another one. This one's from Montgomery, Alabama. We got the Gump in the house. You're on In My Own Words.
Hey, Stephen A. This is Eddie M.
Say it again.
This is Eddie M. Eddie Mixon. I just had a question about LSU. Do you think that they were a one-hit wonder, or what do you think?
When I think about
you think LSU?
When I look at LSU, I would say they would be the 2010 Auburn, just had everything fall correctly like Auburn did, and you got the quarterback in there, you got a offensive wizard in Joe Brady in there, you had the offense that Joe Brady brought with him from the NFL, and just things fail correctly for LSU this past season. You look at now with Burrow gone, with 9 draft-eligible juniors hitting the draft, and you lose both Dave Aranda and Joe Brady, it's going to be highly difficult for LSU to sustain this. So I look at that as, a one-hit deal, a one-year deal.
Yes, I do too. Well, thanks for having me on, man. I enjoy your show. Keep doing what you do.
Appreciate it. We got a caller in there from Montgomery, Alabama, asking about LSU being a one-hit wonder. Yeah, kind of, sort of. Yeah, LSU being a one-hit wonder there. Well, folks, still got some time left here. Still got a little bit of time left here to get your win on. We are looking for the 5 Alabama players under Nick Saban. Not Alabama roots, but the 5 Alabama players that played under Nick Saban in the Nick Saban era that have a Super Bowl ring. There are 7 of these players. We want to know, can you name 5 of the Alabama players under Nick Saban during that time that at least have one Super Bowl ring for a shot to win a free subscription to TDA? Well, number 2 guy was Thaiu Jones-Bell. My number 1 guy for Alabama will not be able to keep off the field. I got Brian Branch, the defensive back out of Tyrone, Georgia, at 6 feet, 180 pounds. And it looks like we got a caller in from Miami, Florida, in Q. You are on In My Own Words. What's going on?
Hello, how are you, bro?
Man, I'm doing outstanding. What's up with you?
Just wanted your prediction on Tua and where do you think he would be drafted?
Quick prediction on Tua now, and where would I think he'd be drafted? Now, if Tua does well in his pro day, I can see him going at number 5 to the Dolphins. If he does well at the pro day, if he checks off all the medical boxes. Now, where I want him to go, I would like for him to fall to pick 13 to the Indianapolis Colts because they're already well set up with the offensive line, guided by Ryan Kelly, former Alabama center. You've got talented wide receiver with T.Y. Hilton. You got a young tight end in Eric Ebron. So my perfect situation would be Indy. I've had folks to call in to say no New Orleans, no the Patriots, no the Titans. Just different teams being thrown out there. But to me, he does well in the pro day. number 5 to Miami, but I would like to see him drop to the Colts at 13.
Okay, you got like 10 guys in the room right now. We're listening to you and watching you on YouTube. You kind of hurt us, man, because what matters, my Dolphins fans, Tua. So you saying that you want him to fall at 13? It's kind of like
I'm saying now if he goes to Miami, I would not be upset with it, and most definitely if the Dolphins have Dan Marino in the green room. That's what they need to do. They need to have Dan Marino in the green room, and they need to dress Dan up and say, Dan, okay, we're going to let you make our first 3 picks of the draft. They need to have Dan Marino in the green room.
Right. I want to ask you one more question. I was watching a video on YouTube, and one of the reasons why Tua said he made the decision to go to Alabama was because of his dad. And on an interview, his dad said that he would want Tua to get drafted by the Miami Dolphins. Are you concerned about Tua being kind of like with him being so close to his family and his family making decisions for him, and I want to know how you feel about that, as far as like him kind of growing up and being his own man, because it kind of seemed like he's very close to his mom and dad, which is nothing wrong with that, but I don't know. It's kind of, what are your opinion on that?
I mean, I can understand where you're coming from because, Tua truly respects his family. He truly respects his Hawaiian roots, and we all understand that. But at the same time, you would want to see at what moment will Tua become his own self. At what moment will Tua become somebody of whom can make a decision based on what he wants to do. Now, of course, if you get Tua in a room by himself and say, Tua, if you can get chosen by any NFL team, which one would it be? Of course, he would most definitely say whichever one would like to draft me or whichever one would like to roll the dice or pull the card on me. So I can understand what you're saying there, but I wouldn't put too much stock into it. I feel like this is just how he shows his respect, shows his love, shows his gratitude to the family. I wouldn't worry about it. The main thing is if he is to go to Miami, that you would be concerned with is how healthy is he? That would be the main concern. How healthy is he? Can he move? Can he pivot? Can he bend? Can he throw? Can he give us, being the Miami Dolphins and the fans here in Miami, can he give us the type of Tua Tagovailoa that we saw at peak health at Alabama? If he can give you that, I wouldn't worry about the whole thing about the parent thing.
Right. My buddy want me to ask you one more question, bro. I'm sorry about that. He wants your opinion on Justin Herbert. I know you're Alabama guy. I don't know how much you watch all of college football. He kind of wanted your opinion on Justin Herbert. Do you see him as being a franchise guy, or do you see the drop-off between him and Tua like massive?
I see the drop-off between he and Tua in terms of big game situations. Now, Justin Herbert has a big-time arm. The kid can light it up. Big-time arm. Right. Saw him at the Senior Bowl. The guy can thread the needle. He can make all the throws necessary on the field. My question for Justin Herbert is, in big games, can you show up? Because throughout his career at Oregon, whether he was playing against Stanford or Arizona State or Cal or USC, if it was a ranked team or a big-time matchup, there would be times Justin Herbert would disappear. And you would wonder, okay, where in the heck is he? He's supposed to be, right, a first-round guy. Where is Justin Herbert versus Tua? Even when Tua was playing on one ankle against LSU, he's still giving the Tigers the business. In the biggest game of the year, on one leg, he's doing his thing out there. Right. So as much as I respect the game that Herbert has, I want to see, can he emerge? Can he consistently show up in big matchups?
Let me ask you this. Let's say if Tua was playing for Oregon last year, this year, and Justin Herbert was playing for Alabama, what Alabama would have been in the national championship this year? Would there have been would Justin Herbert look better with a Jerry Jeudy and all the weapons that Alabama have?
I'm sure Justin Herbert would look good, but still at Alabama, it comes down to defense. This is a defensive-minded organization, a defensive-minded head coach. So it really wouldn't have mattered which quarterback, you have if the defense is not doing its part to slow down the opposition. So even with a Justin Herbert, as good as he is, he would have had a chance to possibly get Alabama to the national championship, most definitely. But at the same time, I still go back to what does that defense give to help out if Justin Herbert was to have played at Alabama?
Right. I thank you so much, bro. Me and my buddies, we're watching you right now. We shared you in a Facebook group, a Miami Dolphins Facebook group. We got over 7,000. You probably can't see us on Facebook, but we watching your video right now on Facebook, me and a couple of buddies of mine. We're in Miami, Florida, man. We're excited, and hopefully towards the Miami Dolphins, man. And I appreciate you, bro.
No problem. Be easy. Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you.
Getting a lot of calls in the night. But right now, we're going to go to our final break and put a bow on this thing. Apparently, we did not get our winner for the players under Nick Saban at Alabama that have at least one Super Bowl ring. But you know what? You have a chance to answer another trivia question, as Friday will serve as Trivia Friday. Well, Friday will always be Trivia Friday, but we're going to go to our final break right here. When we get back, we wrap things up on In My Own Words.
Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $5.95 per month, or pay $49.95 for a full year subscription. That's a saving of almost $22. Make sure to subscribe before it's too late and get our new freshly printed end of the year magazine issue. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
What a show, folks. What a show. So we're back in. Hottest show on the streets. In My Own Words, the podcast. Putting a bow on this thing. Got a chance to discuss Tua Tagovailoa, former Alabama quarterback. We'll make sure he's checking off all the medical boxes that he has in terms of the draft, the combine, and other things when you look at the National Football League. From there, we spoke with my man Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama Magazine, getting his thoughts on the 2020 class. It's National Signing Day, Wednesday, February the 5th. From there, we looked at some football trivia, some Super Bowl trivia. Of course, nobody got the answer correctly. It's okay. Friday will serve as Trivia Friday. You will have more opportunities to get your win on. Got some calls here that brought in their Super Bowl predictions. Really appreciate that. Got a chance to talk about, the 5 guys, the 5 true freshmen for 2020 that I feel like Alabama will not be able to keep off the field. And we had a fun free-for-all of callers. Great information, great content, great day, great show. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for this on a Friday. As always, people, you download the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. Invest in yourself. Do the right thing. Be the smart fan. You can get the app by going to your iPhone App Store if you're rocking Team Apple. Google Play Store if you've got the Android phone. Our podcast options if your audio listening pleasures just so happen to be iTunes or Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, and iHeartRadio, among others. You can check those out at the bottom of the screen to check out that audio. Well, when we come back on Monday, folks, we will continue with your phone calls, recap a little Super Bowl, and continue talking Roll Tide football. But as always, I leave you with this. Wives, love your husbands. Husbands, hug your wives. Children, get that homework done. Get you 3 hearty meals a day, 3 great laughs a day. And if the good Lord allows fit, I'll be back on Monday. Until next time, folks, holla at your boy. This has been In My Own Words.